Welcome, guys.
So as you can see here, we have a question which is related to complex numbers, and it's from JEE Advanced 2021. It is a multi-correct answer type, meaning there can be more than one answers. So let's start by underlining the important words. So we have arg over here, then we have an equation over here, and another equation here. There's an ordered pair, and is there are true, which is because it's multi-correct. So let's start. So arg is basically, it's the short form for argument. So for a complex number, z equals x plus iy, its argument would be tan inverse of y by x, which is also equal to the tan inverse of y is the imaginary part, so imaginary part of z by the real part of z. Now, this is not really important for the question. What we really need is this and this. So let's start solving. So we have arg of z plus alpha by z plus beta is equal to pi by 4. That implies, let's take this complex number as k. The value for z plus alpha by z plus beta, we'll take it as k. So this implies that arg k is equal to pi by 4. So what is arg again? The tan inverse of the imaginary part of z by the real part of z. So here we have tan inverse of imaginary part of z by real part of z is equal to pi by 4. Pi by 4 is actually 45 degrees if you take it in degrees. And tan inverse of a value gives the angle for which its tan value is equal to the value given inside this bracket over here. So that means tan pi by 4 is equal to imaginary part of z by real part of z. That means we know that tan 45 is 1. So 1 is equal to imaginary part of z by real part of z. That means imaginary part of z is equal to real part of z. So let's start from here. So let's substitute the value of k here. So we have z plus alpha by z plus beta. Taking z as x plus iy, we have x plus, we'll put alpha in the middle of x and iy because alpha is a real number according to the question. So x plus alpha, put in brackets, by, we'll do the same thing here, x plus beta plus iy. And now we want the denominator to be a real number because it's going to be difficult if it's a complex number. So multiply both sides with the conjugate of the denominator. So here we have x plus alpha plus iy by x plus beta plus iy into the conjugate would be x plus beta minus iy by x plus beta minus iy. So this will give you, well, this is going to be x squared plus alpha plus beta x plus alpha beta, and multiply this with this, then multiply this with this. If you notice here, minus iy into x plus alpha. If you take them separately, minus iy into x minus iy into alpha. And here we have iy into x plus iy into beta. So as you can see here, iy into x, and here we have minus iy into x. If we add them, they add up to 0. So we can directly skip to multiplying this with this instead of this with this entire thing. So this gives plus beta y put I in the beginning, and minus iy into iy is minus I, or negative I into I is 1, and y into y is y squared, so we have y squared. So this combination is done. Now we have to complete this combination. Minus iy into alpha, which is minus I alpha y, by this entire thing. Since we know this is going to be a real number, and this is a complex number, so if we take the real part and imaginary part of this, they're supposed to be equal to each other, and the denominator does not really matter because we'll just have the real part by this denominator equals the imaginary part by the same denominator, so we don't have to worry about the denominator. So let's just forget this. We'll think about this part. So this means that the imaginary part over here is equal to the real part over here from this equation. So let's take that. The coefficient of I is equal to the real part of this equation. So we have x squared plus y squared plus alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta is equal to the imaginary part, which is beta minus alpha y. Transpose this way, you get minus beta minus alpha. So minus of beta minus alpha gives you minus beta minus negative alpha, which is alpha minus beta. So we get alpha minus beta y if we transpose this side. That is also the additive inverse of this. So we have x squared plus y squared plus alpha plus beta x plus, if you transpose this inside, you get alpha minus beta y plus alpha beta is equal to 0. This is the equation which x and y should satisfy, and we have another equation which x and y should satisfy, which is this one given here. So let's take a look at them and see what we get. So these are the two equations we'll be having now. That is the one we derived, which is x squared plus y squared plus alpha plus beta x plus alpha minus beta y plus alpha beta equals 0. And the second one, which is in the question about the circle which they form, it is x squared plus y squared plus 5x minus 3y plus 4 equals 0. The reason why I spaced them out is because these are like terms, so we can equate the coefficients and then figure out what alpha and beta is according to the question. So this part is not really important here because that is the same coefficients. And comparing these two, we have alpha plus beta equals 5. This usually works when we really don't know what x and y is. And here we have alpha minus beta equals 3. So add them up. These are two nice equations we have. So we have 2 alpha equals, it's actually minus or negative 3 here. The coefficient of y is a negative 3. This is plus 5 or positive 5. So if we add them, we get 2. So we have alpha equals 1. And then if you subtract the equations, alpha minus alpha and beta minus negative b will give us beta plus beta, which is 2 beta. And here, if you subtract the equations, you get 5 minus negative 3, which is 8. So if you divide by 2 on both sides, you get beta equals 4. So these are the answers or the solutions for alpha and beta. Now, according to the options, we have option A says that alpha is equal to negative 1. Our second option says that alpha beta is equal to 4. C option says that alpha beta is equal to negative 4. And the last option D says that beta is equal to 4. So according to this thing, we can verify the values of alpha and beta from this. Make sure that their product is 4. And as you can see here, 1 plus 4 is indeed, 1 times 4 because it's alpha into beta. So yeah, 1 times 4 is indeed 4. So this is correct. These values of alpha and beta are correct. And so that means alpha into beta is 4. So this is one answer. And we know that alpha is 1, not negative 1. So this is wrong. C says that alpha into beta is negative 4, which is obviously wrong because we already derived it to be 4. And beta is equal to 4 is also a correct answer according to this. So we have 2 correct answers, B and D. So this is actually a multi-correct answer as discussed before. So the marking scheme is 4, negative 2, meaning if you attempt it correctly, you'll get 4 points or 4 marks, and if you get it wrong, you'll get negative 2 marks. So that's it for today's question. Hope you liked my video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos and hit a like if you really enjoyed this video. And stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, see you soon. Goodbye.